Welcome to Hollywood Latest Reports. For years, the Swaggart family has stood as one of the most talked about names in American ministry circles. Admired, respected, yet surrounded by whispers that never seem to fade completely. But now, in a shocking turn of events, Jill Swaggart, the devoted wife of Pastor Gabriel Swaggart, has finally chosen to break her silence and reveal what she calls the truth I carried quietly for too long. According to those close to the family, Jill's revelation has stirred emotions across Baton Rouge, especially within the walls of the family worship center, where both Gabriel and Grace Larson Brumley serve as key figures. For the longest time, fans and churchgoers saw them as a tightly knit group, spiritual leaders united by faith, friendship, and family legacy. But behind the smiles, behind the choir harmonies and television broadcasts, a quieter story was unfolding, one that few dared to speak about until now. Jill reportedly opened up during a closed women's conference session, where she admitted that before she and Gabriel became husband and wife, there was a period in Gabriel's past that he had buried under Grace. While she didn't mention names directly, multiple attendees claimed Jill referenced someone close to the ministry, someone who used to sing beside him and shared more than just music. Those words, according to sources, sent murmurs throughout the room, because for longtime followers, only one name fit that description: Grace Larson Brumley. To outsiders, it seemed unthinkable. Two prominent figures of the same ministry, once rumored to share a connection deeper than friendship, now both married to other people, leading worship on the same stage. Yet those who have been around the Swaggart ministry since the early 2000s recall subtle hints of tension, awkward glances during services, and brief absences that were never explained. According to a source close to the family, there was a time when Gabriel and Grace were inseparable. They sang together, prayed together, and everyone assumed they were just ministry partners. But it went beyond that. Feelings developed, and that created a complication that the leadership had to quietly handle. Reports suggest that before Gabriel officially proposed to Jill, there was a season of emotional distance between him and the ministry, a time many described as his reflection period. Now, Jill's latest remarks seem to confirm what many quietly speculated, that Gabriel's heart was once divided, and that Grace, too, had been part of a chapter he thought would stay closed forever. When asked why she chose to speak now, Jill reportedly said, "Because silence can protect, but it can also poison. I needed to find peace, and truth brings peace." Her words have since gone viral among Christian media watchers and social pages dedicated to Swaggart news. Some interpreted her tone as forgiveness, others saw it as heartbreak that never fully healed. One insider revealed that Jill discovered old letters, exchanges that hinted at the deep emotional bond between Gabriel and Grace, long before their respective marriages. It wasn't scandalous, the source clarified. It was emotional. They were young, passionate about ministry, and they thought maybe God was writing their story together. But sometimes God has other plans. Still, Jill's acknowledgement has opened a wave of reactions online. Many fans flooded social platforms with supportive comments, praising her courage for facing her past with honesty. "It takes strength to tell the truth when you could just pretend everything is perfect," one follower wrote on X, formerly Twitter. Others, however, criticized the timing, claiming it might reignite unnecessary gossip and distract from the ministry's message. Yet as the story circulates, it's clear that Jill's revelation has stirred more than just curiosity. It has reopened old wounds within the Swaggart family's public image. Sources inside the family worship center reportedly confirmed that Gabriel was deeply emotional when he learned about Jill's statement. He wasn't angry, one insider explained. He was quiet. He just said, "I thought that part of my life was forgiven and forgotten." According to those familiar with the couple, Gabriel and Jill had previously worked through these issues privately years ago, but Jill felt now was the time to speak truth for closure. Meanwhile, Grace Larson Brumley, now married to Skylar Brumley and a mother, has reportedly maintained silence on the issue. A few attendees noticed that during a recent worship service, Grace appeared tearful during a solo performance of "His Mercy Still Flows," leading many to speculate that the emotions were connected to the resurfaced rumors. A church member shared, "It felt like she was singing from a place of pain and reflection. You could sense that something deeper was happening in her spirit." As the story continues to evolve, commentators are drawing parallels to similar moments in Christian celebrity culture, where transparency collides with tradition, and private struggles become public lessons. For Jill, her testimony wasn't about accusation but about release. In her own words, she described it as laying down the last burden of secrecy. Yet, the emotional shockwaves have been hard to contain. Some insiders even allege that leadership meetings were held to address the fallout, emphasizing unity and forgiveness among staff. "No one wants division," a source close to the pastoral team said. But it's undeniable that people are talking, and whenever people talk, misunderstandings follow. Those who have followed the Swaggart family's long and storied ministry know that controversy isn't new to them. From the early days of Jimmy Swaggart's global evangelistic campaigns to the generational transition now led by Gabriel, the Swaggart name has weathered storms and survived through resilience and repentance. This latest development, however, hits closer to home, not as a scandal of moral failure, but as a revelation of humanity. Jill's story reminds many that even those who preach grace sometimes wrestle with forgiveness behind closed doors. "They're not perfect," said one church volunteer. "They've just been chosen to serve despite imperfection. That's what makes them relatable." Interestingly, some longtime partners of the ministry claim this story doesn't come as a surprise. One longtime supporter recalled, "Years ago, we heard rumors that Gabe and Grace were very close before he got serious with Jill. People moved on, but the connection was always noticeable." The supporter added, "Every time they share the stage, there's this unspoken chemistry, respectful, professional, but you can tell there's a deep history. Whether that's truth or perception, it's this very complexity that makes the story resonate beyond religious boundaries." Experts on ministry relationships suggest that what Jill did is part of a growing trend among leaders' spouses, stepping forward to reclaim their narratives before the internet does it for them. Dr. Elaine Morris, a relationship counselor who studies pastoral families, explained, "Transparency has become a form of protection. When a spouse acknowledges pain publicly, it doesn't always mean betrayal. It often means maturity." Jill's courage to speak shows she's not living in denial. Meanwhile, those who attended the same service last week noticed that Gabriel, while preaching, subtly referenced the issue. During his sermon titled "The Weight of the Past and the Power of Redemption," he said, "Sometimes God allows our buried truths to resurface, not to shame us, but to show how far His grace has brought us." The audience reportedly responded with standing applause, a mix of empathy, respect, and admiration. It was a moment that signaled closure, even as speculation still lingered online. Still, as more sources continue to emerge, the narrative takes new turns. One close friend of Jill's told a Christian magazine she found peace, yes, but it took years. Imagine knowing the person you love had shared something emotional with someone you still see almost every week. That's not easy, even for the strongest believer. Another insider added, "She didn't speak out for revenge. She spoke because she's healed, and healing demands honesty." Social media pages devoted to family worship center gossip have exploded with discussions, with fans debating whether Jill's confession was necessary or too revealing. Hashtags like #Swaggart speaks out, #Gabriel Grace passed, and #Truth and Grace have trended across platforms. Many content creators have begun dissecting old ministry videos, pointing out moments when Grace and Gabriel's connection seemed too natural, reigniting debates that had been dormant for nearly a decade. Yet, amidst all the noise, one message stands out clearly. Forgiveness is still at the heart of the story. Toward the end of her confession, Jill reportedly said something that resonated deeply. "I love my husband. I love Grace as my sister in Christ. But love without truth isn't complete." Those words have since been quoted across dozens of faith-based pages as a reminder that honesty and grace can coexist. As of now, no official statement has been released by the ministry, but close observers believe that this revelation might spark a renewed message series about transparency, forgiveness, and God's ability to restore what was once broken. In the end, what began as a hidden past has transformed into a public testimony, one layered with pain, growth, and redemption. Jill's bravery in revealing her truth has not only humanized the Swaggart family, but also reminded countless others that behind every pulpit, behind every worship song, lies a story of imperfect people walking toward grace. Whether you see it as scandal, confession, or closure, one thing is certain: the truth always finds its way to the light. And this time, it came not from rumors or leaks, but straight from Jill's own heart, spoken softly but powerfully, declaring that sometimes the past must be revealed for the future to finally heal. In the days following Jill Swaggart's heartfelt revelation, the atmosphere around the ministry reportedly shifted from quiet unease to deep reflection. The Family Worship Center in Baton Rouge, usually known for its vibrant worship and joyful spirit, carried a noticeable heaviness that week, not of scandal, but of introspection. "You could feel something different in the air," one longtime attendee explained. "People weren't whispering out of curiosity, they were praying. It's like everyone realized that even leaders bleed the same as we do." Social media debates might have framed the situation as dramatic, but inside the church walls, it became something more profound. A moment of collective humility. Reports claim that during a recent Sunday service, Jill and Gabriel stood side by side as the choir sang "Amazing Grace." Those watching said Jill's eyes were closed, tears glistening as Gabriel reached for her hand. It was a small gesture, yet deeply symbolic, a statement that love had outlasted the weight of history. That moment spoke louder than any interview, one worship team member said. It told us that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength. Sources close to the couple revealed that after Jill's revelation, the two spent a private weekend away, seeking peace and spiritual renewal. According to a friend of the family, they went off-grid. No phones, no social media, just prayer and each other. It wasn't about damage control, it was about healing. Meanwhile, Grace Larson Brumley continued to handle the situation with quiet dignity. Insiders say she was advised by leadership to maintain focus on worship and family, avoiding public comment. Yet, her latest performance on Sun Life Broadcasting Network was described by many as hauntingly emotional. During her song When I Don't Understand, her voice trembled on certain lines, and viewers took to comment sections suggesting the lyrics mirrored her personal turmoil. She doesn't need to say anything, one viewer wrote. You can feel everything through her song. Behind the scenes, ministry staff reportedly held several closed meetings to address the story's fallout. According to a staffer who spoke anonymously, they weren't angry. They were protective. The goal was to keep the ministry focused on grace, not gossip. Leadership reminded members that transparency, though painful, can be redemptive. If the story of grace is real, one elder said, then we must live it, not just preach it. That statement resonated widely, and clips of the message began circulating online, drawing praise from viewers who admired the ministry's maturity in handling internal truth. Interestingly, public response has been divided yet empathetic. While some fans continue to analyze every old photo and video of Gabriel and Grace, others argue that the renewed attention could inspire people dealing with their own hidden hurts. Faith bloggers began posting think pieces titled Grace in Truth, What We Learned from the Swaggarts, and Forgiveness Beyond the Pulpit. The story, while personal, became a mirror for thousands navigating relationships, faith, and regret. This is bigger than one couple, a popular Christian YouTuber commented. It's about the danger of silence in marriages, even spiritual ones. Jill's voice may have just set someone else free. Meanwhile, sources close to Jill shared that she has been flooded with letters and messages from women thanking her for her vulnerability. Many said they had also carried emotional wounds or unspoken truths and finally found courage to address them. Jill reportedly replied to several of them personally, writing, "The truth doesn't destroy love, it purifies it." Her words have since been quoted widely, and faith-based podcasts have begun discussing the Jill Swaggart effect, a cultural moment where honesty within faith leadership is seen not as weakness, but as testimony. Still, some critics remain skeptical, arguing that the story's resurfacing could tarnish reputations or be used as sensational content by outsiders. But within the community, many say the opposite is happening. Attendance hasn't dropped. In fact, it's grown. People want authenticity, a family worship center usher explained.